Hey, Serena.
Hey, Emily.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, I'm doing good. Thanks for asking.
Of course, of course.
What song have you been listening to?
So I've recently been listening to The Great War.
Oh my god.
Just, somewhere in the haze got a sense I've been betrayed,
True.
How do you not just hang on to that and listen to it with everything in your whole chest?
The Great War is such a good song.
She put something in that line.
It's addicting.
It's one of those songs that you can just listen to over and over and over and over and over.
It's a repeat song for sure.
It does something, there is a serotonin release at Somewhere in the Haze. I got a sense I've been betrayed.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is.
She does so good with the little, one-liners in some of these songs. It's like, girl, where'd you pull that from?
I just love this woman.
Yep, I will always, yep.
Yeah,
Good
what song have you been listening to?
I'm in my Fearless era.
I love.
Yeah. I have been listening to Untouchable.
Oh, that's such
pretty consistently.
Such a good song.
Yeah, it is. And I was thinking about recently, when the album came out, I think it was my favorite on the album.
It's a really good album.
It's such a good album. No,
and it's such a good song.
It's like country music perfection.
It really is. What a time.
Yeah. I mean, I had only found out just a couple years ago, too, that she didn't write that song. Or she, only wrote half of it.
I didn't know that.
I was shook. Oh, you didn't know that?
No.
That she didn't write Untouchable?
No.
Oh, she put it on Fearless because it was one of Scott Borchetta's favorite songs, I think. So she, I think she rewrote a verse or something like that.
Right, she added to it a little bit.
Yeah, so that's why she was able to re-record it, because she also, rewrote
contributed in some way. You know what else I've been listening to? Stay, Stay, Stay. Because he came in wearing a football helmet.
Oh my god. We need to talk about that for a second. Also, in your life, you'll do things greater than dating the boy on the football team.
But maybe you won't.
But maybe.
But maybe you won't.
But maybe you will do great things and also date the boy on the football team.
I cannot believe that Taylor Allison Swift marched her cute little ass to the Chiefs game, sat next to Donna Kelsey, and screamed, "Let's fucking go." I
didn't know I could be more obsessed with her. And then I became.
Love that woman so much. I don't even have the words to contain how I feel, to express how I feel. She literally lights up any room she walks in.
Yeah.
I would love to know how many people watched the Chiefs game in comparison to a normal. I watched it.
Oh, totally.
And the whole game was about her. And what a time for women that we have just infiltrated the manliest man thing of all time. It's ours now. We own the NFL.
Taking back the Barbie dream house. For sure.
I just can't. I loved it so much.
She is the industry. Pick an industry.
And she's it. The NFL is making endless TikToks about her. The ending with the score that went out everywhere, her face.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so funny.
I love it so much. And I also need to say, the sneakers that she wore, I ordered them 2 days before that game. They came in today. They're so cute. Not in red, because that's not my color, but the same sneakers. And you know what? Taylor, you're welcome for the influence.
You're right in the same wavelength.
Yep.
She was feeling it. That was so funny.
I just, I love that she, painted her nails red.
She was fully dressed for the occasion.
I mean, I will say, as a Philadelphia Eagles fan, I was a little disappointed because, just a few short months ago, she was running around wearing an Eagles crew neck, but
true. That's why I love that people are like, oh my gosh, his mother already loves her, she's an Eagles and a Chiefs fan.
So, honestly, true, she fits into the fam!
Right in. It's so funny.
But did you see the, stuff about her afterwards? How they went to, a restaurant and, they rented out the rooftop?
Yeah.
They paid for everyone at the restaurant's meals. And I saw multiple sources saying that they were so handsy all over each other. And I'm like, yes. I've said it once, I'll say it again. She finally has a hot man with a job. I don't care if this is
money and a car.
Oh my gosh. I don't care if this is a stupid fling. I don't care if they're not really dating. I am living the fantasy that they are. They're in love, they're getting married, and they're going to have 10 kids.
You know, it's so funny, though, because I can't remember the last time
like
that she was seen in public with someone where I really thought, like, oh, this is going to end in engagement.
Like
this
have 10 kids and teach them how to dream. Like, let's go. I'm so, like, I can't,
It makes so much sense.
I have never cared about her relationships before. Like, none of her relationships have really, I'm always just like, oh, okay, like, that's her arm candy.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
I already liked Travis Kelce. Like, before any of this, I always thought he was funny and so good looking. I'm just so excited. I love it so much.
It makes so much sense. It really does.
Like, you said, like, if this... And I saw this girl, she made a TikTok, and she was like, it's the flop boyfriend theory that you have.
Yes.
You're in, like, a long-term, unfulfilled relationship, and then you date a rat, and then you find the man you're gonna marry.
Yes, no, so true.
And she was with Joe, a flop. She dated a rat, Maddie Healy. And now she's ready to get engaged. It's time.
Oh my god. Yeah, all the girlies are in a boring 7-year relationship before they find the one.
Like, and I just
true.
could see, I know this is delusional, and I usually don't like to feed into this craziness, but, like, I could really see them going the distance.
I can too.
Because he understands, like, he is the most famous football player right now. So he understands fame. He got a bag, don't worry, he's got plenty of money. He can pay for the dates sometimes.
Yeah.
Joe could not.
Yeah.
He probably has his own private jet. Joe did not. We're on the same level here.
If this isn't long term, if this is not endgame, it's so good for her right now. At least she is like truly at her peak. This is the year of Taylor Swift. She needs somebody that's on her level. I don't want to say he's on her level, but he's on her level.
He is like the closest. I feel like. Also, outside of her industry, because I don't think she should date a musician. Like, I just don't think it's, like, for her.
Yeah.
So he's probably, outside of her industry, one of the most famous men right now.
Yeah.
So it just makes sense.
Yep. Sure does.
And he makes her look so small and tiny, because he's so large.
He is so tall. I know. Seeing them next to each other, I'm like, why does Taylor look short?
Because he's, like, 6'5".
Obsessed. The math is mathing.
Like, please let me be your wedding photographer.
The stars are aligning.
Please!
Yeah.
I need to, like, weasel my way into, like, Jason Kelsey's family, because they're local. Mm-hmm. And then she can be like, oh my god, we know this great photographer.
Playing a long game, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I support it.
Excellent work.
I think you can do it.
Thank you so much. If anyone has a connection to Jason Kelsey, let me know.
Imagine Taylor Swift settling down in Missouri.
No. I can't imagine that. He better be ready to move. Oh, gosh.
That's all I've been thinking about this whole time. I'm like,
no.
Missouri?
No.
I don't know how football works. Like, do they have to live in that city?
I think only during the season.
Okay.
She's used to...
No, that's so true. They have so many houses already.
And also, like, not for anything, but, like, she made it work with many of men that have lived in London.
So true.
So, like... She's got the PJ. I don't think we need to worry about it.
Absolutely. I love the tweets that are like, oh, if this becomes a thing, like, this will be the closest thing we have to American royalty.
Period.
Like a royal couple.
So true. I just want to know, like, where did she lay her head to sleep that night?
Mm-hmm.
Was it in his house?
Not in a hotel bed.
I certainly hope so. It was either there or she flew home.
Yeah.
And honestly...
Flew home at 3 a.m.
I mean, would we really be that surprised? I just love it so much, and I just love to see her having so much fun. Mm-hmm. Like, we have not seen her out and about and this happy in so long. And I've also been seeing some flutterings of the haters that are like, give her privacy, blah, 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 blah. She's not asked us to give her privacy. She is if she didn't want us to know, we wouldn't know.
Of course, yeah, she wouldn't have gone to the game.
Like, guys, it's not the Reputation era. No. It's fine. She's very public, very happy, very... And it seems like, for the most part, people are, like, very on board with us.
They are, yeah.
Which I love.
Yeah, and I love that she's not really receiving criticism from media for being happy like she did before. And I think that encourages her, too.
I know. I love it.
Be who you want to be, girl. You know?
I'm so happy for her. Yeah. I love this relationship so much. And I know... Did you see that somebody... I don't know, it might have been Dumois, which I actually can't stand, but... Like, I don't know if that's where the tip went into or if it was somewhere else, but when she was out to dinner with Sophie Turner, it was, like, her, Sophie, and 2 other girls, and she got a text, and she, like, turned her phone and shit, and they were all, like, freaking out. And I just know it was from Travis. Like, I know it was from Travis.
It was him inviting her to the game.
And I loved it. And, like, did you see the videos of, like, Patrick Mahomes, like, waving at her from the field? It was so funny.
All the players being like, oh, shit, she's actually oh, that's
Taylor Swift. It was
like,
so
I want to
funny.
know, do the players talk? Like, if Travis and Kelsey Travis and Kelsey, hello. Travis and Taylor, I'm gonna get this confused forever. If Travis and Taylor have been actually, like, talking, do the other players know about it? Like, I feel like they were shocked.
I feel like Travis probably talks a lot of shit, so they didn't believe him.
Yeah.
To be honest. I feel like they were probably like, yeah, okay, you're not talking to Taylor Swift, like, get out of my face.
I saw a tweet, it was like, oh, it's like when that guy at your school says he has a girlfriend from another school and she's coming to homecoming and she actually
shows up. Exactly.
Yeah.
But on the level of, like, oh, I'm texting Taylor Swift,
right.
And his friends being like, you're an idiot.
You're full of shit.
Because he's a joker. Like, he's a big, like, funny guy.
Yeah.
I love it.
I love this for both of them.
Me
it's
too.
Just so funny.
And his mom, like, I also think it's funny because I feel like they're very similar and, like, they're very close with their moms, and their moms are also very well known.
Yeah.
Like, their moms are a part of their fame. Like, obviously, Donna Kelsey is famous because she had 2 sons play each other in the Super Bowl, which is, like, unheard of. And she's just very vocal about how much she loves her kids. And so is Andrea. Mm-hmm. And you know what?
Yep.
They'd get along great.
They will be besties.
I just love it.
For sure. For sure.
And could you imagine she has two very successful football player sons, and then Taylor Swift is a daughter-in-law?
Damn.
She lucked out.
For real.
And Jason, Kelsey's wife, is so sweet. I see her fitting right in.
Good.
Right into the fold.
And he has kids, doesn't he?
He does.
Jason
He's got, like, 3 kids.
She'd be great with kids.
Excellent with kids.
It's
And
really
you know
great
what?
Intro.
This is my thing. If she wants to have kids, this is the guy to have children with. Even if it's not forever.
Yeah.
Just think about that.
Yeah.
A pro athlete.
Those genes were gonna be insane.
Like, this is the time, Tay.
Oh, God.
This is the man to have children with if that's what you want.
Oh, I'm ready for the royal baby.
Oh my gosh, what would you name a kid?
I don't even know.
I feel like something, like, not insane.
It would be like a classic name.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely not insane. Something like,
I don't know.
simple.
Yeah.
They wouldn't be like a celebrity. You know, celebrities name their kids all kinds of
All
crazy
kinds of insane things. No, they wouldn't do that. We're not getting a North or a Saint from Taylor. You know?
No, definitely not.
Wow.
Oh.
A girl can dream.
If she wants that, I hope she gets it.
Me too. And if she doesn't, that's fine too. Whatever.
I'm enjoying this right now.
Me too.
For what it is.
And can't wait to see where it goes. All right, Emily, what are we doing today?
So, today we decided that we were going to dissect the holy trinity of folklore love triangle songs. I'm sorry.
We're putting on our
we went back to
educated girly hats. As that was very smart. That sentence that just came out of my mouth.
I'm not doing words today. They're not coming out.
No.
Like, I'm not processing.
I've had a day, so, you know,
It's been a day.
We're just going.
We just wanted to look through August, what is it, Cardigan?
August, Betty, and Cardigan. And we analyzed them.
Yeah, there are so many, like, obviously we all know this, there's so many connections between them. We love the storytelling in it, and I just thought it would be so fun to
talk about it.
Line by line.
And that's what we're going to do. So, I went in and watched the Long Pond studio sessions last night, just because, like, we get to hear right out of Taylor's mouth what the songs mean to her. So, I wrote down what she said. I'm going to read it to you guys, and then we'll go through the song. And then we're going to do all 3. And that's the pattern we're going to go in here.
Yeah.
So, this is what she had to say about August, which is where we are starting. She said, August was obviously about a girl that James had this summer with, right? So she seems like she's a bad girl, but really she's not a bad girl. She's, like, really a sensitive person who fell for him, and she was trying to seem cool and like she didn't care because that's what girls have to do. And she was trying to let him think that she didn't care, but she really did. She thought that they had something very real, and he goes back to Betty. So there's that idea that some villain girl in any type of situation who, like, takes your man is actually a myth, because that's usually not the case at all. Everyone has feelings and wants to be seen and loved, just like Augustine. That's what all she really wanted was love. And then Jack goes in and says, That's what I love about August. It's that it's not a dream, even though it sort of feels like it. And the situation feels very close to me, and it like getting swept up in like that. And that's the song does feel very much like being swept up in it all. And then Taylor comes back to say, the whole song started with the fact that I had it written down in my phone, the line, meet me behind the mall, years ago, and wanted to write a song about it. So I thought that was kind of cool. I mean, I already knew that because I've watched this many times. But,
yeah.
I love that.
That's crazy.
That this whole song,
so
this woman, the way she writes songs sometimes, I'm like, you are, that like, even like Last Great American Dynasty. She's been wanting to write a song about Rebecca Harkness since 2013. She heard the, like,
literally just the
track and was like, okay, like, this is it.
And it's one of the most incredible songs of all time.
Like,
I just don't get it. I do not get it.
Her brain
is actually
all right.
Wild.
So, first line.
Shall we go line by line?
Yes.
See if we have anything to point out.
So, salt air and the rust on your door.
Yeah.
I just wrote, it's giving beach.
It's giving beach!
Which is part of the reason why this
Her
is
job
like...
is beach.
Yes. August's job is beach. No, that's one of... The beachy feelings of this song are one of the reasons why I love it so much.
Mm-hmm.
And, yeah. I
racked my brain for, like, what felt like hours, trying to figure out if there was a deeper meaning to this rust on the door. I can't figure it out.
So, my deeper meaning to it is... So, in my head... I have this written down later, but I feel like it fits to say now. In my head, I see, like, Betty and James are, like, the rich, popular kids at school. Ooh. And August isn't that. Like, she's, like, more quiet, more in, like, the side, and she doesn't come from money. So the rust on your door, to me, just signifies that, like, where they're hanging out isn't, like, a crazy nice place.
Oh.
That's my deeper meaning here.
Interesting.
That it's just, like, setting the scene of, like, simplicity. Like, the salt air, the rust on your door, I never needed anything more. It's like, we're at the beach in this, like, little beach cottage that's not much, but we're together. And, like, that's what is important here. Mm-hmm. But, and, like, when you go back to, I think it's Cardigan, when she says...
Ooh, maybe... Sorry to interrupt.
No,
I'm like, maybe James has a summer house.
That's also possible.
This is where they're meeting.
And then in Cardigan, it says, to kisses in cars and downtown bars was all we needed. So it's like, to me, that's a juxtaposition of, like, the beach, simple little cottage to, like, kissing in cars and downtown bars and the big city and all that. Yeah. And so, like, Betty says, that's all we needed. And it's, like, this, like, glitz and glamour. And, like, yes, it's about, like, the little things of, like, quick kisses in cars and downtown. But it's also, like, not a little thing when you compare it to salt air and rust on the door. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That just was an interesting stick out to me there.
Come on. See, I feel a little dumb sometimes, and I read these things and I'm like, there's nothing up there. I can't. Nothing is computing. Wow.
But I never needed anything more. Also, okay, yeah, that's what I wrote down here. Makes me think of the line in Cardigan. Downtown bars was all we needed, showing that Augustine wanted a simpler, quieter life with James. Like, it was just, like, smaller.
That's so good. Wow. I connected the I never needed anything more to when she later says living for the hope of it all. Mm-hmm. I'm like, what is it all?
Right.
The salt air and the rust on your door, because that's all she ever wanted.
Right. When I say, okay, so for living for the hope of it all, to me, well, we'll address that when we get down to it.
I know.
Because I said something different about it.
If you guys could see my paper, I have, like, arrows pointing everywhere.
Oh, but me too. I have it. It's crazy. So the next, I'm gonna read. It's like 5 lines because I have it all, like, clumped together, and then you can, like, interject where you want to. So whispers of "Are you sure? Never have I ever before. We love consent."
Yeah.
But I can see us lost in the memory. August slipped away into a moment in time because it was never mine. And I wrote down here, but the idea of living in the moment and getting swept away and giving a part of yourself to someone, like, kind of quickly, but because it feels so big, even though it's happening kind of fast. And, like, I think you can see that August and James, like, while it wasn't endgame for him, because Taylor says that, like, Betty and James end up together.
Yeah.
It still felt very real to them, and almost maybe a little more real to August.
I was gonna say, I don't think it was real to him at all.
True. You're right, maybe
because
not.
The whole, like, never have I ever before makes me think he took her virginity.
Oh, 100%.
For sure. And she's like, I think, hung up on that. And
True.
it was just, like, whatever for him.
Right, yeah, that's true. It wasn't, like, the first time for him.
We did have consent, so we cared a little bit, but...
Right. He was, like, not a terrible person. He just...
Right, it was just a 17-year-old
He was sad.
boy. It was a sad boy.
She was there, and he definitely... She was, like, carrying that relationship, because you can even see it later when she's, like, cancel plans just in case you call. Like, she was pining after him. And who knows, like, again, in my head, like, they all go to high school together. August is in the background of, like, these popular kids.
Right.
And she maybe had a crush on him for, like, a very long time. Like, always, this is all hypothetical.
Right.
Here. We're just speculating. But these 3 songs to me, like, so clearly paint a picture of, like, a movie. I'm like, somebody make a movie of this. Because it would be great. But yeah, just, like, her getting swept up and giving a part of herself to him, for sure, is what that section of the song is to me.
So it very much reminds me of, like, 15, the song.
Yeah, yes. And then it goes on to say, and I can see us twisted in bedsheets, August sipped away like a bottle of wine, because you were never mine. And I just think, to me, this part just shows that the relationship moved very quickly, and it was fun, but James definitely knew it wasn't going to be forever. I think August probably knew that, too, but was still, like, again, we see her talking about living for the hope of it all. And, like, wanting it and wishing that he would pick her, but that probably wasn't going to be the case.
I also love the way she said, and I can see us twisted in bed sheets. Like, she could have used so many other words there. Like, this is just a twisted mess. This whole thing is,
it's messy.
Like,
it's giving messy.
Yeah. And like, I can see us under bed sheet. Like, it could have been so many things.
I know.
I love
I like twisted. It is a good choice of words. And I wonder if it's something she changed. Like, if it wasn't that originally, but she, like, you went back in and changed.
I'd love to know her thought process. Sometimes I feel like she just, like, throws out lines from her head, but sometimes I feel like they're really, like, really
pointed. Yeah. And I think that probably comes in the refining process, right? Like, you write something once and then you go in and, like, what's a better word we can use here, whatever. True. And in printing out these lyrics and writing about them, I did not know it said sipped away like a bottle of wine.
You didn't?
I was thinking flipped.
Oh my god! No, I only knew that that was the word because when the song came out, my sister and I got in an argument because she thought it was so dumb that she wrote slipped away like a bottle of wine.
And you're like, she didn't do that.
Yeah, I'm like, no, it's not. But then I was like, well, she wouldn't say sipped away into a moment of time. So then I remember, like, looking up the lyrics and being like, both. Oh. But first of all, can we just address those lines? I don't think that I like that she switched it up. Like, how does the wine make sense in the context of anything?
Yeah, the wine is weird. I wonder if maybe...
Like, were they drunk?
Were they drunk, maybe? Maybe they drank a lot.
Yeah.
Or maybe, like, James was drinking to feel better about his decision-making.
Yeah.
The wine is weird, I agree.
It is true. Like, you pour a glass of wine, and then you pour another one, and all of a sudden the bottle's gone.
Right.
Like, I feel like that. So it was a good passing of time.
And maybe that's kind of signifies of, like you said, like, it just happened very quickly, and you're like, oh, wait, how did I get here?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Kind of thing.
True.
And then...
That was a little bit of Taylor in there, because we know she loves her lines.
So
I
true.
feel like that was for her.
So true. And then, because you were never mine. So it's like, again, she's showing the self-awareness of, like, she knew that he was still in love with Betty. Mm-hmm. But she just wanted to be picked and chosen.
Yeah. I mean, she does go on later to say that, she really thought she had him.
Yeah,
like,
true.
She was convinced.
And maybe, again, the song is probably written of, like, her in hindsight.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
she's totally
looking back on the relationship.
Yeah.
Like, she knows he was never hers, but she felt that in the moment.
Yeah.
I love these next 2 lines. It just paints such a clear picture to me. You're back beneath the sun, wishing I could write my name on it. And I just see, like, in my head, they're on the beach, sitting on a towel, and he's, like, facing away from her, like, staring off into the ocean with the sun on his back, thinking about Betty, and she's laying behind him, like, I can see her, like, scratching his back or something, like, begging him to pay attention to her. Like, I'm the one that's here with you right now, not her. But she knows that he's thinking about her. I know this is just 2 simple lines, but it just paints such a clear picture to me. Like, wishing I could write my name on it, wishing I could take you as mine is so clear to me in this. Like, she knew that in his head and his heart, he was with Betty, but he was physically there with her.
Whew.
And that's what those two lines signified to me so deeply.
I love that. No, that makes so much... I'm so glad you described it that way, because for the longest time, those were the two lyrics in the whole song I didn't understand.
Yeah.
Because I thought she was saying, like, you're back, as in you are back. You're back beneath the sun, and then wishing I could write my name on it. I was like, write your name on what?
Yeah.
But
that's how those two lines just paint such a clear picture for me. I don't know why, but...
Such a good thought. Yeah, you're back beneath the sun.
And then the will you call when you're back at school. Like, it's still the hopeless romantic in her, like, wishing for the best and wanting that from him. Like, we can make this work.
Yeah. I mean, not to, like, jump ahead, but her thoughts in this kind of little verse here feel so scattered, where she's like, you're back beneath the sun. Oh, are you going to call me when you're back at school? And then she's like, oh, I remember, like, I really thought I had you. Her thoughts are, like, all over the place.
Yeah.
Here.
And then it slipped away into a moment in time.
Yeah.
And, like, I think it's, like, very much, like, her romanticizing a short-lived relationship and, like, her having such a deep connection to him. I think it's pretty clear that, like, she gave him her virginity. Yeah. So it's, like, she has this, like, very... Even though the relationship was just this summer, she has this very deep connection and attachment to him. And you can see that in, like, it slipped away in a moment of time because it was never mine, but it still was, like, such a big piece of my life. And then it goes into repeat. August slipped away into a moment of time because it was never mine. I can see us twisted in bed sheets. August slipped away into a bottle of wine because you were never mine.
I love that she... saying August slipped away into a moment of time because it was never mine. I think that just reiterates, like, my time was never mine. It was always yours. Like, I was canceling my plans in case you called.
And I also think it kind of shows a little bit of James that it was just a moment in time for him. Like, it was just, like, this short thing he doesn't give much thought to, but for her, it was such a monumental relationship. And, like, something that she clearly thought about for a long time after it ended. And then the line of back when we were still changing for the better. This line had me thinking for a like, what does she mean by when we were still changing for the better? And I kind of wonder if she's talking about, like, growing up and getting better and, like, how as you get older, you kind of get set in your ways and you don't really change. I don't know if that's what that was for me. I kind of, like, don't have a clear explanation of what I think this means.
I don't either. It's one of those lines I just left blank.
And I was kind of wondering if maybe it's, like, her hope for him to be different for her. Like, I don't know. I'm not sure what exactly this... I love it. It's one of my favorite lines of the song. But I'm just not sure exactly...
I don't know. It doesn't feel like it fits. Really.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like it fits into the whole...
Back when we were still changing for the better. Wanting was enough. For me, it was enough. And I guess the following lines of the wanting was enough, for me, it was enough, is just, like,
I guess
almost the romanticizing of the relationship was more fun than the actual relationship.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like towards the end, James really started to regret it. And he like, made up his mind. And I think he needed that summer to realize what he wanted.
Right.
And that's how he was changing.
Right. True. And I think for her, she just, like wanting was enough for me. So was she, like, romanticized this relationship? And I feel like when she thinks about it now, she's like, oh, it was so great. I loved him so much. Like, but then she also, like, when she was living it, was very insecure and didn't feel completely loved by him, didn't feel completely seen by him. But now she's like, it was great. But, you know, like, I feel like we can trick ourselves into thinking something was better than it was.
You often remember the better parts of it anyway.
Exactly. And, like, it's, like, to me, that wanting was enough, for me, it was enough, is very encapsulating of that.
Yeah.
But my favorite part of the song is that back when we were still changing for a better, wanting was enough, for me, it was enough, to live for the hope of it all, cancel plans just in case you call and say, meet me behind them all. All the way up until... You are mine to lose. And I said, for that section of the song, to me, this is the best part of the song. It just captures the feeling of being the one who cares more. The one who just wants to be loved and thought of. She just wants James to pick her, but knowing in the back of her mind that he wouldn't.
Have you seen, I saw people point this out on TikTok, people saying that meet me behind them all has, like, that double meaning of meet me behind them all. No,
I haven't
like
seen that,
James.
but
Yeah, I
Yeah.
feel like recently people have been pointing that out, where James knew that he had to meet behind everybody.
yeah,
He
that
knew
makes
this
sense.
Would be
That it
would
had
be
to be
good.
done behind like closed
Behind
doors
them all,
almost.
behind
Yeah.
them all. I don't know if that was Taylor's intention to
Right.
write that.
And then we can talk about the line for the hope of it all.
Mm.
So I said, it's okay to get swept up and fall head over heels. It's okay to have big dramatic feelings. That's what that means to me. To live for the hope of it all. Like, you're just living for what could be. And like making decisions like, let's just do it to see what happens.
Exactly. Yeah. Yep. There doesn't need to be a plan or a reason.
And just like making choices to just hope for the best. Like that's
literally, that's literally what it is. Yep. Simple as that.
Yeah.
And I love that.
What do you have from this section? You have anything written?
Let's see. This is, let's see.
I also love the line of so much for summer love and saying us. I think like the idea of summer love is so romanticized in our like society, especially in like America. It's very like Americana vibes to have like a summer romance.
Yeah.
And I think that was like an interesting line to put in there. So much for summer love and saying us because you weren't mine to lose.
Yeah. But it was a summer love. That's the thing.
Right. And I think she didn't want it to just be summer love though.
Yeah.
And I think like everyone wants the idea of like,
or maybe it just wasn't even love.
Maybe it was
just
summer lust.
Yeah, it was summer lust. That's all it was. I find it interesting. I highlighted in here. There's only 1, 2, 3, 4 instances where we actually like have a picture of them together, which I feel like for a 4-minute and 21-second song, there aren't many instances of them like hanging out.
Right. It's a lot of because like maybe it wasn't as serious.
Yeah.
It just like I think it's clear that it wasn't as serious to James as it was to August. And again, she may be.
That's why like a majority the other lines in the song are all very just like looking back and regretting, or not regretting, but looking back and wishing.
Yeah.
And hoping. Which is so interesting to me.
And you know what I think is interesting? In the first time we hear this line, it says, cancel my plans in case you call and said meet me behind the mall. But then again, it jumps down and it says it again. And then cancel my plans just in case you'd call. And it has a question mark after it in these lyrics when you print it out.
Yeah.
So that's weird to me.
I don't understand why that's
like,
there.
why did it go from a statement to a question?
Oh, no, she's saying, remember, she's asking the question.
Remember when I pulled up and said get in the car and then cancel my plans. Okay, yeah, that's why. I wasn't looking at it, the line before, I was just looking at it. I'm like, why is there a question mark there?
I guess I don't realize that this whole, like, outro part is really just a big question.
Right.
She's ending with, like, don't you remember this? Don't you remember when we were living for the hope of it? Or I was living for the hope of it all?
Yeah, so I wrote get in the car, talking about taking control instead of sitting around and pining. To me, was what that, because earlier in the sentence, she's saying, cancel my plans just in case you call and say, meet me behind the mall. And then she comes back and says, remember when I pulled up and said, get in the car. So to me, it was like, that was her moment of like, I'm going to take control of this situation. I'm going to put myself out there. I'm going to show up and say, let's hang out.
Yeah. And
not just sit around and wait for you. She was giving him what she was looking for.
Yeah.
And I think
I wonder if her pulling up was her pulling up to like the dance.
Maybe.
At the end of Betty, or the beginning of Betty.
Right.
And they had this fight and she pulls up and James is like pissed off.
Yeah.
Like, did she show up for him when he needed it?
When he needed it, yeah.
That was always in my head kind of when she came.
Yeah. And I love the repetitiveness of this song. Like, we see for the hope of it all, like, many times throughout the song, and, like...
10 to be exact.
Really? 10 times, yeah. And then, even the lines of, like, because it was never mine, because you were never mine. That, never mine shows up so many times throughout the song.
Mm-hmm. All of these songs, they have a repeating
lot of
line.
Repeating line.
And I feel like the characters are just, like, trying to remind themselves. They're just trying to, like...
Like, never mind.
Like,
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Wow.
8 times it shows up.
Wow. Because it was never mine, you were never mine.
Yeah.
I feel bad for her. Like, she's just over here being like, nothing was ever mine.
Yeah, and if you think about, like, high school, and, like, you know this girl got talked about so...
Yeah.
Like, she was vilified, and Taylor says that, too, of, like, she tried to steal James from Betty. Mm-hmm. And it's, like, that just, like, wasn't the case, and... I don't know, I just love the vibe of this song. I love the lyrics. I love it so much. It's one of my favorite songs Taylor's ever written.
I don't remember what August felt like before the song August.
I don't think it existed.
I don't think it did.
We renamed the month.
Even
it was
just...
called something else before, and we don't remember what it was.
Even just, like, the intro to the song, and just, like, yeah, this is exactly the beach. What other song described the beach so well with just a couple notes?
Salt air and the rust on your door.
Crazy.
I never needed anything more.
Never needed anything more.
I love it.
I can't.
Alrighty, you ready to go to the next one?
Yeah, let's take a look at Betty. Oh, have you seen people were like talking about the chronological order of these songs and being like ABC, like it goes August, Betty, Cardigan. Isn't that crazy?
I love this woman.
I feel like, yeah. I also sometimes I wonder if things are actually that intentional with her, or if
it's just like
just
sometimes stuff's just a coincidence. I think it's a little bit of both. I also think it's interesting that August and Betty are both named after people, and then Cardigan is not.
Yeah,
I think that's such an interesting, like, why?
Mm-hmm. Why?
Why?
I don't know.
Okay, so let's check in to see what Taylor has to say about Betty.
Yes.
She says, one of my favorite things about this recording is that there's this trilogy of 3. The trinity of Betty, August, and Cardigan are all, like, we made August together, and she points to her and Jack, and we made Cardigan together, she points to her and Aaron, and then we all 3 made Betty together.
Oh, wow.
And then Jack comes in and says, it's perfect. And then Taylor says, for Betty, I just heard Joe singing an entirely fully formed chorus of Betty from the other room, and I was just like, hello.
Oh, I forgot that he did that.
Yeah. And then she goes on, like, a side tangent with Jack about writing songs with Joe and how they never done it before, and she, like, asked him if they could try, because it was, like, quarantine and not a lot going on, and, like, that kind of thing. I'm not going to read that whole thing because it was very long and not really that relevant to the actual song.
Yeah.
But then... she comes back and she said, so he was singing the chorus of it and it sounded really good from a man's voice and from a masculine perspective. And I really like that it seemed to be an apology. And I've written so many songs from a female's perspective of wanting a male apology. So we decided to make it from a teenage boy's perspective, apologizing after he loses the love of his life because he's been foolish. And then Jack comes in and says, allegedly. And then she goes, no, he's been foolish. And I just included this because I thought it was funny. And he said, well, according to the internet, we don't know what it's about. And she said, we wrote it. I'm confirming. He's been foolish. He was a fool. And it was just like
That's
a cute little...
That's my favorite part of the Long Pun Studios.
Me too. And she's like, fool, fool, fool. Yeah. Like, it was just so cute. I will say this is the one I had the least to say about.
Oh, wow. Okay. August was, I think, the one I had the least to say.
And by the least to say, there's still plenty of things you had to say. I just, I think it's funny that she calls this an apology because he never once says, I'm sorry.
Oh, damn. Wow. You're right. Wow, you're so right.
Like, his apology is showing up, which is the bare minimum.
Yeah.
And I'm like, Tay...
Oh, God.
Want a little more for yourself, babe.
That's so true. That's so funny.
And I also think it's interesting that Joe helped her really write this song, and the way that she talks about it at the show, at the Eras Tour, is kind of a little snarky.
It is kind of snarky.
And I'm like,
I love seeing, she says something different every time, too.
I know.
About it, and it's like, what stab is she gonna take this time?
I know, and the first show that I saw, she talked about how... When she introduced Betty, she talked about how the trilogy was named after Blake's kids because Blake was there that night.
Oh.
Yeah. So that's, like, what she talked about. She didn't, like, talk about it being an apology. So she's like,
shaking my head. We
got these names from, like, very special little girls in my life. Like, it was cute. It was a cute little moment.
Obsessed.
So it opens with, Betty, I won't make assumptions, and then he makes an assumption. About why you switched your homeroom, but I think it's because of me.
So are we assuming now that summer happened and now James...
They're back at
school. This is, like, back at school.
That's what makes the most sense to me.
I'm assuming, like, maybe they were in the same homeroom last year, but then she is not in his homeroom this year, and he's like, well, fuck. this is my fault.
Right, like you switched it because of me.
Yeah.
And I think it's like his way of like addressing the situation without addressing the situation. You know what I mean? Being like,
yeah.
Obviously we have much bigger problems going on here, but you switched your homeroom because of me. It's like almost like his little in to like have something to talk to her about. I don't know. It was like it's a weird.
I thought it was funny because he says, Betty, I won't make assumptions about your sister home. And then he goes on to say, Betty, one time I was riding on my skateboard. And I'm like, why is he repeating her name? Like, is he trying to remind himself who he's talking to? Maybe. Or is he like, don't mess up again?
Yeah.
Keep saying her name?
Right.
Kind of thing?
Betty, one time I was riding on my skateboard when I passed your house. It's like I couldn't breathe. And
That's so dramatic.
Oh, yeah. But I love drama, so I love it.
Oh, absolutely.
But I feel like that's like his way of showing her that it's affecting him too. Like, yeah. I couldn't breathe when I walked past your house, like, or rode past your house. Like, it's rough for me too.
Right. Why? Because you're thinking about what you did? Well, that's on you, buddy.
So true. And then we have... Do you have anything to add?
No. I just feel like we can assume they're not on talking terms here. That's why he's kind of talking into the void.
Yes. I agree. It does seem like he's like kind of talking into the void in this.
It's almost like he's standing in front of the mirror trying to like think of what to say to her.
What to say, yeah. And then, you heard the rumors from Inez. You can't believe a word she says. Most times, but this time it was true. So, like, this is just him acknowledging that, like, yeah.
I wonder if she's tried to warn Betty about him before. Like, has she said something to her? Has Inez said something to Betty, and James was like, oh, you have nothing to worry about kind of thing?
Right.
He's like, you can't listen to her. Like, you can't. Oh, but this time, actually, my bad.
Yeah, she was right.
She was right.
I think Inez is painted as, like, a gossip in this line, but like you said, maybe it's not... She could have just
been, like, a best friend.
Right, and it's just like, yeah, the vibes are off. Like, you need to be careful.
Yep.
That's,
Maybe him and Inez had a thing.
Oh, period. The plot thickens. Okay, and then he said, the worst thing I ever did was what I did to you.
That's the closest he comes to an apology,
yeah.
I think.
And
so close.
This is what I wrote down. Admitting he was wrong, amen.
Yeah.
That's, like, all I really have to say about there.
Yep.
And then it goes, but if I showed up at your party, would you have me? Would you want me? Would you tell me to go fuck myself? And I put, being nervous about how someone will react to an apology, thinking I think sometimes people avoid apologizing because they're the fear of rejection of, like, if I say sorry and admit I'm wrong and they reject that, how do I even move on from here?
Yeah. This whole section of, like, would you have me, would you want me, or would you tell me to go fuck myself or leave me? Like, that just feels so, like, it feels like he's getting angry. Mm-hmm. He's like, will you accept my apology? Or are you going to tell me to go fuck myself? Like,
right.
This kind of thing.
Yeah, true.
It's very, like...
And then or lead me to the garden, and in the garden, would you trust me if I told you it was just a summer thing?
I want to know what happened in the garden before.
Yeah.
Because why else would they be going back to the garden?
They snuck in through the garden gate every night that summer just to steal their fate.
Not that summer.
I put, will you believe me if I'm vulnerable and tell you what happened? Like, will you ever be able to trust me again after I broke your trust? I think James is a little scared of opening up. I think we have a little bit of a closed offness to him that
a lot of teenagers are.
Right, and I think that he doesn't know how to properly communicate with her. And then I'm only 17, I don't know anything, but I know how to but I know I miss you. I wrote down missing someone, but maybe not knowing how to open up and communicate that to them.
Yeah.
And, like, really explain. I feel like he doesn't know how to explain himself. I feel like he knows some of the things he did were unexplainable and unacceptable, but he doesn't know how to fix it. And this is his way of being like, I don't know. I don't know anything. I don't know how to fix this, but I know that I miss you. Like, that's the thing that's important to me here, is that I know I messed up. I know I was wrong, and I know that I want you back.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. That's what it really says to me here.
But he also, like, literally one line down, he's like, Betty, I know where it all went wrong. Even though he literally just said, I don't know anything.
Yeah.
He's like, actually, Betty, he circles back a lot. Like, he keeps going through this whole, like...
Yeah, for the line of, I know where it all went wrong, I wrote, realizing he didn't show up for her, explaining that it was a him thing and adding to his insecurity was her with someone confident? Huh? Oh, because it says, I saw you dance with him. So it was, like, adding to his insecurity of, like, Okay, so the lines are, Biddy, I know where I went wrong. Your favorite song was playing. From the far side of the gym, I was nowhere to be found. I hate crowds, you know that. Plus, I saw you dance with him. Mm. So I put, like, it was adding to his insecurity to see her with someone confident and, like, being cool with dancing with her in the crowd. Because I see James as, like, a popular kid, but also, like, internally shy and insecure.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Whereas, like, Betty, I very much see as, like, the life of the party. She lights up the room. Like, she's very, honestly, a little bit Taylor Swift to me. Mm-hmm. Like, very much that kind of personality. Mm. And he's, like, constantly doubting himself, like, and maybe that's a little bit why he was drawn to August, because to me, she was quieter with a simpler life.
Yeah.
Not popular. There's less pressure there. Like, and I also, like, in my fantasy head space of this story, like, James is, like, their families are both very well known. So there's, like, I feel like a lot of pressure from his family, like, maybe his older siblings who were really smart and successful and good athletes and all this thing. So I think James is, like, in a pressure cooker.
Yeah, and when you try really hard not to mess something up, you mess it up.
You mess it up,
usually.
Yeah. And I think Betty is just very comfortable in her skin, very, like, confident in herself, and everybody likes her.
Yeah.
And I feel like James is not that. So he has a hard time being with her because it comes with a lot of pressure.
Wow, such a good point. Dang. I just think it's so funny how that this whole section is just him placing the blame back on her.
Oh, yeah.
Or trying to, like,
you know I hate crowds.
Yeah, he's like, I hate the crowds, and you were dancing with him, so I justified that by sleeping with August all summer long.
Yeah.
Like, that's basically
what
he's saying.
I agree.
Like, so that is what makes it okay to do the thing you did?
Yeah. I agree that he does, and I agree with you when you say he's, like, all over the, like, again, August was all over the place, he's a bit all over the place.
Worse, yeah.
He's worse all over the place, and it's, like, very much, it's like, I was wrong, just kidding, you were wrong. Like, that happens a lot. It's like he can't fully admit he's wrong without justifying his actions. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's the very much like, I'm sorry I did this, or I'm sorry you did that to me, is, like, a little bit of, like, what we got going on here.
Yeah.
And then we have, again, you heard the rumors from Inez, you can't believe a word she says most times, but this time it was true. The worst thing that I ever did was what I did to you. And then we get into, I guess, a little bit of the party. Or no, it's again the same lines. If I just showed up at your party, would you have me? Would you want me? Would you tell me to go fuck myself or lead me to the garden? In the garden, would you trust me? I told you it was just a summer thing. I'm only 17. Don't know anything, but I miss you. And then he says, I was walking home on broken cobblestones. And this, I think, is interesting because it's bringing up cobblestones. Right. Cobblestones are also brought up in Cardigan. Mm-hmm. High heels on cobblestones. So to me, I'm like, are we talking about the same place? Is this the same location that you were in Cardigan? That we're talking about here?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like Betty also referred to cobblestones. And then it says, just thinking of you when she pulled up like a figment of my worst intentions.
See, this is why it makes me feel like he was walking home from the dance or something.
Yeah.
When this all happened. I was walking home. Broken cobblestones. Why broken?
Right. And a figment of my worst intention. I hate this line. I like the line. Taylor, excellent work. But I don't like the blame that he places on August here.
He's throwing so much blame everywhere.
Like a figment of my worst intention. So it's her fault? Right. That line bothers me from him. Like, I think the line's genius. A figment of my worst intentions is one of those things that makes you stop and think about that. You're like, what in the world?
Where those words from?
And I wrote down, to me, this all happens right after the fight with Betty. And I was thinking, so in my head, I'm thinking this fight happens at, like, prom, at, like, the end of the school year.
Right. Yeah.
And then they get into this fight about the dance, and he didn't do what she wanted him to do, like, be there and dance with her. And they break up, have this fight, and then summer happens. Mm-hmm. And maybe, like, she said, James, get in, let's drive. So maybe that's, like, the first time they hung out, her and Betty. Him and Betty, yeah. Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
And then the apology that happens later when he shows up at her party is, like, later on in the beginning of the next school year to me. Like, I feel like this song is going back and forth between the fight, which happened at the end of the year, and the beginning of the school year.
Oh, for sure. I feel like Betty throws, like, a back-to-school party kind of thing at her house. Yeah. And he shows up uninvited, probably.
Because, like, in the beginning of the song, he's saying about homeroom. So to me, that's, like, the new school year. But then he's going back to the fight, which happened at the end of the school year before. Yeah. That's the timeline in my head. So she said, James, get in, let's drive. Slept next to her, but dreamt of you all summer long.
So he knew what he was doing was wrong.
Yeah, and I put he finds comfort and solace with how easy it was with August because it was new and exciting, and she has the life that, like, James daydreams about a little bit, like, the grass is always greener kind of thing, of, like, she has this, like, simple life where she goes to the beach and she, like, there's not pressure in her family. I feel like I picture her parents as being very, like, understanding parents, and so he, like, daydreams about that because that's the complete opposite of what his life is. True. And that's what I see there, like, those days turned into nights, slept next to her, but dreamt of you all summer, because he knows that, like, Betty is the right choice.
Which, this whole thing just makes, I'm like, why is it that Betty and James got back together? James is not making a case for himself in any of these songs.
He showed up at her party, and all Taylor wanted was somebody to show up at her party. Sad. Betty, I'm here on your doorstep, and I planned it out for weeks now, but it's finally sinking in. So again, it shows this moment of him, like, speaking into the void again. Of, like, Betty, I'm here, but I'm scared.
Yeah. And he's like, I've planned it out for weeks now, but if you literally go through the whole song, he says the same thing over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And it's like, did you really think it through that? Like, this is all you came up with?
True. You've been planning it out for weeks, and you couldn't say it the words, I'm sorry.
Right. You should have run it by somebody.
Yeah. Betty, right now is the last time I can dream about what happens when you see my face again. And I put, he realizes Betty is the one and he's a fool. He gets brave. He pulls off his grand gesture by showing up. And it's what he failed to do before. Of, like, showing up to the dance the way she wanted him to. So it's like, he's showing up to the party, even though it's not necessarily his scene. He has made it clear he doesn't like crowds, but a party's a crowd. Right. So, and then even though he doesn't know how Betty react, he's like, this is the moment where he, like, gets out of his own head and makes an action of showing up to the party.
Right. He's very, like, I love how he said, this is the last time I can dream about what happens. Yeah. Like, I feel like him and August were such a good match. They were just dreamers.
Yeah.
You know? Just.
Yeah. And in another world, they end up together for me.
Yeah. I agree.
And we don't get to see a lot of, like, the character of Betty, really. Like, we know more about James and August. So I think it's natural for us to be like, oh, they fit together better. You know what I mean?
True. True.
And then, I showed up at your party. Yeah, I showed up at your party. Will you have me? Will you love me? Will you kiss me on the porch in front of all your stupid friends? I'm like, why are you calling her friends stupid?
He fumbled. He was standing in front of the mirror practicing his lines over and over and over, and then he called her friend stupid to her face.
Because that's what he really thinks.
Inez was probably there. He's like, screw you.
Stupid friend. Yeah. If you kiss me, will it be just like I dreamed it? Will I patch your broken wings? And I wrote, ends with not knowing how it will end or if she will forgive him, but he knows he misses her and he has to try to getting back to, like, kissing in the car and downtown bars and all that kind of thing.
It gives me I hate the line, will it patch your broken wings? It gives me such, like, savior complex.
Yes, it does give savior, yes.
Be so for real, James.
I'm only 17. I don't know anything, but I know I miss you. Standing in your cardigan, kissing in my car again. Stopped at the streetlight, you know I miss you. And it, again, goes back to Cardigan.
That directly ties into Cardigan. It's like we see the same exact scene in that song.
Exactly.
That's what makes me wonder. I'm like, that little section at the end, the standing in your cardigan to the very end, I'm like, is that just him looking back again at when they were together, or is that him saying the apology worked?
I think that's him saying the apology worked. But then again, it ends with, you know I miss you. So I'm not sure. Because
it's like...
Because standing in the cardigan, kissing in my car again, stopped at a streetlight, to me, I'm like, we're back. Yeah. But you know I miss you. But it could also be like,
know I miss you standing in your cardigan, kissing in my car again. So
right.
Maybe like, as he's talking to her, he's, like, thinking of all these things. He's like, oh, I also miss this, and this, of when we used to do this.
Right.
Because she said, not to get ahead again, but in Cardigan... what's the line? To kiss in cars and downtown bars was all we needed.
Mm-hmm.
And now he's like, standing in your cardigan, kissing in my cardigan.
Right.
You know
it is interesting because you can see that there are differences in our personalities. Of like, he says he hates crowds, but she talks about loving parties and loving the city, and that, like, it just doesn't seem like it fits with him. I agree about that whole ordeal. But that's Betty.
Yeah. And you know, Betty is almost a 5-minute song.
I know.
Isn't that crazy?
It's like 4 pages of lyrics.
It's
crazy.
Yeah, it's just the same stuff over and over.
It is extremely repetitive. Cardigan is the least repetitive of all the songs.
It is, and it's the shortest. I wrote down the times too because I thought for some reason they would make sense. They really don't. I mean, Betty's almost 5 minutes. We got August at 4 minutes and 21 seconds, and then Cardigan coming in at 3 minutes and 59 seconds.
Yeah.
But it's so funny because I feel like Cardigan is the most lyrically dense.
It's the most. It is. Yes, it is the best of the 3 songs. It is lyrically the best for sure. August wins for me for vibes, but Cardigan is lyrically the best. One of my favorite lines Taylor Swift has ever written is in Cardigan. So for Cardigan, this is what Tay had to say about it, which I was saying this to Emily before we started. This woman is so strange. I love her so much, but she literally in the Long Pond Studios talks about every single song and what it means to her except Cardigan. Cardigan is the only one that they don't stop and talk about. She references it when she talks about August. She says this little short paragraph about, like, 3 sentences about Cardigan before they start talking about August. And that's what I'm going to read to you. But it's so weird that they didn't really talk about it.
No, and it's the one song on that album I want her to talk about.
And it was her the single.
Right.
Like, it's such an odd choice. So it says, Cardigan is Betty's perspective from like 20 to 30 years later, looking back on this love that was a tumultuous thing. In my head, I think Betty and James ended up together. So in my head, she ends up with him, but he really put her through it.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, so I wrote on my paper at the top, I put, written from Betty's perspective, and just like, I was thinking about the word cardigan because it stuck out to me that it's the only one that's not named after a person. And, like, the word cardigan, like, I think of a cardigan, I think of, like, cozy, and I almost actually think of, like, luxury a little bit. Like, cardigans to me are very, like, I don't know, like, rich.
Like, old
money, like, New England, like,
wow.
That's just, like, what I think of when I think of cardigans. So I just thought that was, like, that's an so interesting...
Funny. I never pictured these characters as being, like, the rich, popular kids.
Really?
Yeah, so it's so interesting that you do. But it, like, makes sense.
Yeah, I just think the way that they talk about, like, their life. Like, even this, like, vintage tea, brand new phone, high heels on cobblestone. Like, I just think of, like, I don't know.
The only thing I wrote about the title of Cardigan is that it's too hot to wear a cardigan in August.
So true.
So that's where that kind of makes sense to me in my head. But also, I mean, we say it's not named after a person, but also August isn't really.
Well, she says her name is Augustine.
Right, but I think that's just because she named the song August.
Maybe. That's true. That's true.
But I also call the girl August because that's her name to me.
Yeah, I agree. So, first line. Vintage tea, brand new phone, high heels on, cobblestone. And I think I just, like, wrote down, like, vintage tea, brand new phone, like, old versus new.
Yeah.
High heels on cobblestones, like, modern versus traditional. Like, when you are young, they assume you know nothing. And to me, I always think of, like, when I hear this line, I think of, like, a kid whose parents are always fighting and, like, on the verge of divorce, and the parents are, like, we're doing such a good job hiding this. Like, our kid has no idea, and where the kid's, like, not stupid. That whole line, like, that's what I think of. Like, when you're young, they assume you know nothing. People just, our society thinks young people don't realize what's happening on.
People credit for anything.
Or just, like, even, like, if you're, so we're thinking of, like, Betty and James having this tumultuous relationship in these fights, and I could see, like, older adults in Betty's life being like, oh my gosh, please, you don't know anything about the real world. You don't know anything about real problems. Like, your boyfriend just didn't show up at your dance. Like, you're fine.
And now she's looking back and she's like, I knew all along.
Yeah.
I literally knew all along.
Yeah.
This is exactly...
And then we get sequin smile, black lipstick, sensual politics. I just, like, it's like a light and moody, like, a lot of juxtaposition in these first few lines of, like, opposite things.
Yes. Very contrasting ideas.
Yes. And then we get the line again of...
But that's also, I think, goes back to the being young thing. A lot of older people will point out about younger people that they can't make up their mind, or that they have a lot of, like, conflicting, like, oh, you're wearing vintage clothing, but you need a brand new phone.
Right, yeah.
That's so, like, she's really outlining what it's like to be young.
And like a teenager, yeah. And then you hear, see, when you were young, they assume you know nothing, but I knew you. Showing that, like, she sees the person even when they think nobody else sees them. To me, it's like, she knew that James was more reserved. She knew that James didn't love the crowds. She knew him very well. She could see him, even if he thought she didn't. And I think for her, it was very much like, yes, I know these things about you, but I want you to go out of your comfort zone for me, kind of thing. So this line of, like, dancing in your Levi's, drunk under the streetlight, I know you, handed my sweatshirt. This whole little section to me is very, like, high school. I think about, like, walking home after a party in your small town. Like, just, yeah. Like, young love.
Yeah, and I love how she specifies that they were Levi's. Like, she's really like, I knew everything. I know
the details,
on the details. I remember it all. Oh, I remember.
Yeah. And then we get, like, hand under my sweatshirt, baby kiss it better. And it's just, again, that, like, young love, like, he can fix anything.
Right.
Like,
he's fixed it once before.
Right.
Fix it again.
And then,
oh, the line about feeling like an old cardigan under someone's bed, I think I wrote this, did I write this down for August? I thought the parallel of, like, them being twisted in bed sheets and the idea of, like, Cardigan being, or Betty being the cardigan under the bed. That whole time.
Whoa.
Was crazy.
I never thought about that, but yeah. Bars, Emily. It's a good thought.
Bars.
Sure. So I put, when I felt like I was an old cardigan under someone's bed, you put me on and said I was your favorite. And to me, this is just showing that, like, teenagers and young love and all that, it's like, you put so much of your worth into that person. Like, she felt like an old cardigan, but then he said it was his favorite, and now it's all good.
Have you seen, I can't take credit for this, I saw this on TikTok, people talking about, you put me on and said I was your favorite, but you put me on, having this double meaning of, like, yeah, you put on the cardigan, but you also put me on, like, deception. You, like, led me on and made me believe that I was your favorite.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
Good line.
Like, that's crazy.
Yeah.
That is crazy, because he is kissing it better, but he's also, like, been deceiving her this whole time.
Very duplicitous, this man.
Yeah.
And then it says, a friend to all is a friend to none. And this is a line that stopped me right in my tracks. Like, it's like one of those lines that I heard for the first time. I remember it sticking out to me so much at the first listen, and me being like, that is so true. Somebody that tries to be friends with everybody is friends with nobody. Like, if you don't have loyalties to, like, some people, a friend to all is a friend to none. I just think it's such a true, like, you can't, it's like one of those things that, it's one of those times where Taylor puts into words a, like, feeling about someone. Like, you're, like, have you ever had somebody in your life who is, like, tries to be friends with everyone, and you just, like, something feels off about them, and you, like, can't put a finger on it? It's because a friend to all is a friend to none.
It's not genuine.
It's
but I
exactly.
I'm confused because James doesn't strike me as, like, this charismatic person who's trying to be friends with everyone.
True.
But I'm like, is she just...
But I think...
just talking about the two girls here?
To me, James very much, like, puts on a show. Like, I feel like he feels all this pressure to be, like, the popular kid. And, like, his family's well known. He dates the most popular girl in school. So I feel like he, when he's out in public, can be that, like... But when it's just... But internally, he's not that.
Yeah.
To me, at least. And, like, but then he says he hates crowds. So it is a little bit confusing.
Genuine
in
any of these instances.
It's a little confusing.
But I love the line that chase the girls, lose the one. Yeah. As a little, like, the callback. But this also, her saying that makes me feel like at the time that Cardigan is written, I feel like they're not together.
Yeah, it's weird, though, because Taylor specifically says they are.
But they are in 20 to 30 years.
It is weird. But the line of chase two girls, lose the one, to me, when I hear that, I think if you chase two girls, you're going to lose, like, the one.
The one.
Not, like, oh, you just lost one. Like, you only kept one. Like,
that was so
to me, it's like
her to put that there.
the one. Especially when we look back at the one, the song.
Right.
Like, it just, like, to me, it all comes back around with Taylor.
Yeah.
And then we have, again, when you're young, they assume you know nothing, but I knew you.
Can I just say she says, I knew you, or, like, I knew, 13 times in this song.
13. Yeah, I wonder if it's almost like Betty trying to convince herself that she really does know him.
Yeah.
To have that repeated so many times, it's like...
Or to just remind people, like, I knew.
Right. True.
I knew all along.
Both. And for playing hide and seek, I wrote... It just points back to the, like, childlike, young love vibe. Mm-hmm. And I feel like with this song, I wrote here at the bottom, like, every lyric means something. Like, every lyric in the song feels very intentional to me.
Which we don't get with the other two songs, I don't think.
Yeah.
This one's very lyrically intense.
Yeah. So playing hide and seek and giving me your weekends. And I think this line to me, like, if you think about high school and, like, how important your weekends are, it, like, says something that in that time of your life you were giving me your weekends. It's like, when you're in high school and you're an involved student, you're very busy, and your weekends are, like, the only time, even as an adult, like, giving someone your weekends, it's, like, the only time you really have to yourself. So it's, like, it just shows, like, significance to me that, like, it was important to them.
Yeah.
And then we have I Knew You, and I wrote, again, Betty sees the real James.
Yep.
And then we got Heartbeat on the High Line, Once in 20 Lifetimes. And here I put, to me, this is, like, a quiet moment, like, your heartbeat on the High Line. If you don't know, the High Line is, like, a train.
Little park.
It's just, like, the little things. It shows that they do have these quiet movements along with these fun ones, and so that's why it feels so rare to her, like, the Once in 20 Lifetimes. Like, it feels rare because they do have these quiet moments where she can hear his heartbeat on the timeline, and then we are also, you know, wearing high heels on the cobblestone and dancing in your Levi's under the streetlights and
good point.
All the, you know, kissing in cars and downtown bars. It's like, it's showing that they do have, it's not all just the glitz and glamour and the fun. That they do have these quiet moments too.
Dang. This was the line that made me, the Once in 20 Lifetimes, which I forgot about the Long Con Studios, but I was like, oh, this probably means that Betty's looking back 20 years later. Like, that's what makes me, her looking back and being like, in those 20 years, like, yeah, that our love was still so rarely only came around this one time.
Yeah, and I also wrote, like, when I felt like I was an old cardigan under someone's bed, you put me on and said I was your favorite. I put emphasizing the importance of James choosing her here. Of, like, you put me on and said I was your favorite. We're hearing this line again because it's just showing that, like, he chose that she was his favorite. And, like, it shows... Again, we hear that I Knew You. To me, that stuff is, like, to be known and know someone so well. Like, it's just, like, a theme throughout the song for me.
Yeah.
And then, just kissing cars in downtown bars. This, like, right here, like, this is where the song really picks up for me. And it's, like, the really, like, good part of the song.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah,
I wrote that, so the whole, we've talked about this line multiple times, the kissing cars in downtown bars. That feels such, like, a juvenile thing to me.
Yeah.
Kissing in cars. Yeah. Going to the bars downtown.
Right. With your fake IDs.
With your fake IDs.
Yeah.
Was all we needed. It's like, I don't know.
She's just, like, almost, like, simple and fun. Like, not, like... Yeah, it's just, like, not this, like, complex thing. Of, like, it's just very, like, young fun. Like, yeah.
Yep.
You drew stars around my scars, but now I'm bleeding. And for me, I wrote, going back to another person fixing you, and how in that they might hurt you without even really trying. They're, like, trying to fix something else, but in fixing something else, they hurt you in a different way. See,
I took it as, like, he has healed her before.
Okay, but now
he's just made it.
Now
he's, like, reopened the wound.
Oh, reopened the wound, yeah. And I put that knowing someone so well and so deeply can sometimes also be painful.
Yes.
Because you know how to hit them where it hurts when you know them really well.
Yeah. Yep. Ooh, ouch.
And then, but now I'm bleeding because I knew you. Stepping on the last train, mark me like a bloodstain. I knew you, tried to change the ending. Peter losing Wendy. I knew you, and here we're coming to one of my favorite lines of all time. Leaving like a father, running like water.
That's so good.
It's just insane. And I put, she's remembering the pain of the past. And now it feels like almost inevitable. Like, leaving like a father, running like water. It was almost like they had to go through something really hard and really painful to get to where they are.
Yeah.
And she, like, tried her best, tried to change the ending. Like, it's not...
I think James tried to change the ending.
Yeah. I knew you, tried to change the ending. Peter losing Wendy. I knew you, leaving like a father, running like water.
Unless she was trying to change... I don't know.
Yeah.
You know, because I think they were good together, like, Peter and Wendy.
The Peter losing Wendy line, I'm like...
left to grow up. And Peter didn't. Maybe yeah.
It's such a good line. It's art.
Crazy.
Like, I love this section so much.
It is art.
And, like, leaving like a father, running like water. Be so for real, Taylor. How does your brain function? I love it. But it just feels like she's, like, remembering how difficult it was in this part right here. And, like, that he really put her through it. Like Taylor said.
All these years later, she still has, like, these insane words for it.
Yeah. Like, it's still very intense for her.
Yeah. She knew all along. She knew.
Yeah, because then she comes back around and says, and when you are young, they assume you know nothing.
Right. Like...
But I knew you'd linger like a tattoo kiss.
Oh, God.
I knew you'd haunt all of my what ifs. And I put, you know... Well, actually, I'll just read all these and then we can go back through it. I knew you'd linger like a tattoo kiss. I knew you'd haunt all of my what ifs. The smell of smoke would hang around this long. Because I knew everything when I was young. I knew I'd curse you for the longest time. Chasing shadows in the grocery line. I also love that line. I knew you'd miss me once the thrill expired. And you'd be standing on my front porch late.
Going back up to her party.
And I put, for this whole section, I wrote the feeling of, like, the one that got away. The person that changed you forever. And feeling like you're just never going to find someone better than that person. And then I wrote in, like, after each little line, I wrote, after you'd linger like a tattoo kiss. It's just, obviously, it's about, like, lingering forever. Like, tattoo is permanent. I
took it as, like, a hickey. Like, those are... You know, it shows, like, juvenile love, but it's also, like, technically a bruise that they left, you know?
True.
It's, like, the double meaning of that.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
You'd linger, like, and then I knew you'd haunt all of my what-ifs. Again, that feeling of, like, the one that got away, of, like, what if we didn't work out? What if we did? What if this happened? What if you how would things have ended if you never slept with August? Like, again, you'd haunt all of my what-ifs. Like, anytime she's thinking about what if or what could be. But I feel like this section is her talking about almost like the interim when they weren't together.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, this whole song makes me feel like they're not together.
Right. So maybe this section of the song is really... And maybe she was most of the song talking about when they weren't together, but in the end, I knew you'd come back to me. You'd come back. You'd come back. So...
True. Well, she's like, I knew you'd do this, and I knew you did this, and you did. So... But you came back.
Right.
Yeah, so it could be in the future, but she's thinking back on it.
Yeah. And the smell of smoke would hang around this long.
I love that line.
It's just like the feeling of you want to stop feeling this way, but you just can't because it's just lingering. It's just here.
The smoke sticks to everything. And I'm just thinking about, like, a cardigan that just smells like smoke because you wore it around a fire.
Right. And I can almost see her, like, in her room, like, her sheets smell like him. She has his sweatshirt that smells like him. Like, again, it feels like smoke that's stuck to everything. Yep. Because I knew everything when I was young. I knew I'd cursed you for the longest time. And to me, this part is like, she's blaming him for ruining it. Like, I'd curse you for I'd curse you for doing this to me. Yeah. And chasing shadows in the grocery line. Again, it's that feeling of, like, wanting to casually bump into them. You want to see them because you're still so hung up on it.
Oh, yeah.
That line to me,
Wow, I took it as, like, it's the grocery line is such a mundane, everyday place to be, and she's just feeling haunted by, like, him leaving kind of thing. Even in, like, while she's grocery shopping, she's just, like, haunted by the thought of him.
Yeah, to me, that line is, like, you're in the grocery line, and you see somebody walk by, and you, like, turn and thinking it could be them, like...
I thought I saw you at the bus stop. I didn't, though.
Right, like, the same vibes of that, like... hoping that it's them, and you're chasing every person that walks by when you're standing in the grocery line. You're whipping your head to see if it's him. Is it him? Is it him? Is it him? Like, just, like, looking for that. You're chasing the shadows, like...
Terrifying.
And I knew you'd miss me once the thrill expired. And it was like, she knew that once this fling with August fizzled out, that he was going to want to be back with her.
Yeah.
She knew. Again, she knew all along. She threw up at the party because she knew he'd show up.
Right, yep. She threw the party. She's like, he'll come back, stand on my front porch.
Yep, you'll be standing in my front porch. Again, we're referencing back to Betty here. Yeah. I knew you'd come back to me. You'd come back to me. And you'd come back to me. And you'd come back.
She just repeats it to remind herself. Like, yeah. I knew this all along. I knew it. I'm just gonna keep saying it.
And then the feeling of just a big love changing love for you. And it not being over, and knowing that even if it doesn't work out, it won't be the end. Like, she just always knew it wasn't over. Yeah. Even when they had this big fight and they didn't talk for the summer and he had this fling, Betty knew it wasn't over. She knew it wasn't the end. Whether they were going to last forever or not, I'm sure she didn't know, but she just knew it wasn't over.
And she never even says that she took him back or anything. It was just always like, I imagine that the song ends with, like, them standing on her front porch and her just being like, yeah, I knew this was going to happen. And then fade to black. Like, we don't know what happened. I mean, obviously, we know that they were together.
Right. And then and when I felt like I was an old cardigan under someone's bed, you put me on and said I was your favorite. And that's where we end. Mm. It does feel...
a little incomplete to me.
It does. All right, Taylor, can we run it back? Can you produce a movie
which is like
with
crazy.
The whole story? Please and thank you. Not a short film, a long one.
Yeah, a long one. It's just crazy to say that it feels so incomplete. We have like all these intense lyrics and feelings from all three parties. Yeah. But we're still like, I feel like I need more.
Yeah.
Oh no. That's crazy.
It does feel very incomplete. And I believe Taylor when she says they're together, but...
Yeah, Taylor, I don't know why. Maybe write another song about, like, the future. Because...
Or about the, like... Can we get a love song? About how James is perfect now? But maybe that's also the beauty of, like, you can still love someone and be with them and have the long term without them being perfect.
True. Amen. I guess. Crazy.
What a time. That was fun. I enjoyed that.
Fun. Yeah, it's really cool to dig deep because I'm not a big lyrics person.
I am such a lyrics person. I feel like that's why I didn't shut up this whole episode because I just sit there and ruminate on lyrics literally all day long.
Damn, you're so right about all of that. I just have a hard time comprehending words. I can appreciate a good lyric. I can. So that's why this is fun to do, to just, like, look back at her songs. Especially these, because we know it's not... Like, we can speculate, and I feel good speculating, because it's not about her life.
It's not about her life. I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you guys will have to let us know if you like this kind of episode, in our smart girl era.
In our educated era.
Yeah,
I would do more of this with different songs.
Yeah, I liked it. It was very fun to me. I enjoy a little... poem analysis every once in a while.
Yes. So you said Cardigan you think is the best song in the Triangle, and August is your fave. Is that your
So I think
here?
Cardigan is lyrically the best. Okay. August is my fave for the vibes. And to live for the hope of it all.
Love that.
Yeah. What's your favorite?
My favorite's Cardigan, just through and through. I think Betty's probably my favorite, like, production-wise. I think it's fun. Like, all right. Cardigan is just one of those songs, you know? It's just...
And I just love that she played all three at the show.
Yeah. It annoys me a little bit that they're not, like, in order, but whatever.
Yeah, I agree. You know, it's fine. Alrighty. Well, I think that wraps up this week's episode.
Yay. Thanks for listening to all of that.
Yes, I feel like this was a long one, so thanks for listening.
Yeah.
And make sure you like, rate, and review, At this point,
All of the above.
by the time you listen to this episode, our episodes will be being uploaded to YouTube as well. Not with any video. Maybe in the future, but not today. But you can listen to them on YouTube if that is a platform you enjoy using. And I worked really hard on the cute thumbnails, so go like them.
Great job, yeah.
And tell me that they're the best. Thank you.
Thanks for listening.
All right, we'll talk to you next week.
Bye.
Bye.